Hey, Positive Filter listeners, it's Phil Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Filter. So recently, I was a guest on a LinkedIn web show by my friend Shawn of Fortis Mortgage about the importance of mentorship. The content was amazing, and he was gracious enough to send me the recording so that I can share it with my audience as well. So this episode is basically what we talked about, how mentorship is important, and I hope you really enjoy it. I'm also going to put all his information in the show notes so that you can follow along and add him on LinkedIn so that you can listen to his web show, which takes place every Thursday at around 2 p.m. It's a great show, lots of guests from his network that he taps into and has on LinkedIn Live, and they share some insights on a variety of topics. But this one was really near and dear to me about mentoring and helping people, and so I think it's going to be great. I hope you enjoy it. Welcome to Positive Filter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show.
Hey, Philip Wilkerson, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing good. Love to connect. I'm very excited for this.
Oh yeah, me too. Absolutely. Can I call you Phil?
You call me. That's basically most people call me Phil unless I'm in trouble, and then that's when I get the full name. But yeah,
that's what I was thinking because that's how I was introduced to you as Phil. So
yeah,
just want to make sure, and we are on like LinkedIn, so I want to make sure it's okay if I say Phil.
Oh, of course. As long as you know. I think most times I get more awkward when people call me like Mr. Wilkerson. Even when I work with students, I particularly get weird when people call me Mr. Wilkerson because I sometimes forget that I am actually 35 years old. So it throws me off when they're like Mr. Wilkerson. I'm like, oh, I'm Phil, and then I realize that I've transcended outside of adolescence. Then I'm actually an adult now.
That's fun. That's funny. That's kind of like when we got started, like right before when we were doing a little bit of small talk before we got started. I asked you how you were doing. You told me, you asked me, and I'm like, man, I'm just trying to be like you when I grow up. And you're like, grow up? Like, aren't you older than me?
Yeah.
But age doesn't matter.
Hey, yo, you ever see that? And I know we're gonna go on tangents, but this is my one tangent. You ever see that meme that how black men compliment each other? They like always say like, "Hey man, no, I'm trying to be like you. No, I'm trying to be like you."
Yeah,
and I think I love that. I love that support. I love that way. We have all different ways that we show support, but it's kind of like that too. Like, nah, man, I ain't grown up. You grown up. So it made me think of that of showing support and always saying like, I'm trying to do what you're doing, and that linkage to that, which probably we'll talk about that subject as well. In regards to what we're talking about today.
Yeah, so I think so. So what I'm going to do is before we get started, I've been challenged to, like I was telling you, to either tell a story or tie in something about mortgages because we started this, Phil, just because I have some really cool friends, man, doing some amazing things. And when the pandemic got announced and started, I wanted to find a way to introduce that network and to just bring folks to light so that, everybody could sort of connect and communicate with each other. So now at this point, as this live stream has evolved, we're getting some very good positive feedback. I want to start to also educate folks that know me and know our company, Fortis Mortgage in general, and just home ownership, to start to talk a little bit at the beginning about mortgage tips. And so I know you're a homeowner. I don't know, how long have you been a homeowner?
I've been a homeowner since 2011.
Oh, good. Good for you.
This is obviously our first home. This is our only home, but it's not our last home. We have plans someday to transition, but we had a townhouse, and just kind of a random story that relates to this is that when I was still in grad school, me and my wife realized that rent kept on going up, and we realized that we were just throwing money away, and realizing, can we find something that was complementary in regards to payment, but it was in a home because we were like, we might as well purchase a home rather than keep on paying rent. And so even while I was in grad school, wasn't fully employed yet, didn't have a full-time job. My wife was fully employed, already had her master's. We thought about that. It would probably be more beneficial as a young married couple, because we had just got married in 2010, to purchase a home, and I guess build equity and build something or purchase something rather than always giving our money away in rent, that we had some form of ownership. So we've been in our home since 2011.
Oh, okay. Good for you. That's great, man. That's a good bit of time. Most homeowners, hang on to their homes. The numbers change over the years, but I've seen statistics anywhere between 7 to 9 years, whether there's some sort of turnover, whether you refinance or sell your home or purchase a new, so to speak. And so one of the things I had a question about, or I wanted to comment on, is we talk about the do's and don'ts of apply, your mortgage application. And so today I wanted to touch on a few don'ts. Give me one of the don'ts that either maybe you made a mistake on while you guys were purchasing, or ones that you think you would give someone advice on when purchasing a home. And this is while you're in process. Like, what are some of the things that your lender told you, like, don't do this because it'll mess your loan up, or, try not to do this because it'll make it more difficult for you? Or did you have something that you did that kind of derailed you a little bit?
No, I would say derailing. One of the things that was somewhat difficult in the process, as I said earlier, was that I wasn't employed, right? Like fully employed. I was just working as a grad student. And so one of the things, I don't know if it was a do or don't, but even just be predictive and say like what paperwork you needed, like if any form or fashion, like have receipts, keyword, like any tax forms, anything. And so I think we extended the process while my wife was full-time. They kept on coming back to me in regards to not being employed, and like, even though you're married, what does your husband do? And so if I could go back in a time machine, just making sure that you have everything that you need, all the paperwork, all your tax forms, even if you're not fully employed, even all your pay stubs, or at least the statements of overall, W-2s and whatnot,
Right.
had that ready. And since that, we've been more prepared. We were still young. Like I said, I was straight out of grad school. I didn't think about filing things and keeping things in order. But now every single year, we have literally keep all receipts, all paperwork. And you can see I'm down here in my office. I mean, we have it organized by year.
I see that.
Of main documents that we have. And so I would just say that to make it easier, the do, not the don't, but just the do, to make the process, because they kept on going, we kept on going back and forth with emails, I swear, because they were always like, we need this, we need this, we need this. And everything they said we needed was in regards to me, not my wife. So that would be.
So Phil, I have the 5 don'ts, right? And so don't make unnecessary bank transfers. We'll talk about that later, because that's a whole nother thing that really makes it pretty complicated, because we have to track all this. Don't change banks during the process, right? You want everything to be clean, like you mentioned it, to be clean. Don't make any major purchases. That's something you definitely don't want to do. Don't, like, in the middle of your process, don't go buy a new car, right? Don't go buy anything, all that new furniture. Best Buy's got TVs on sale and stuff like that. Just wait. Don't apply for any new credit. And then lastly, this is kind of along the lines of what you maybe experienced. Not really, though. It says, don't change employment status or compensation type, right? So you didn't do that, but like, let's just say you were working and then, you're going to change into a job, and maybe you're not going to start working for another 3 months or something like that. That could be an issue. Since then, over the time, we've been able to kind of work around that. But in your case, for students that are out there, right? For instance, that don't maybe have a 2-year work history, Phil, what they'll let you do is you can use your transcripts to show that you were in school. And then with those transcripts, they'll count that as an employment, so to speak. And so, like, maybe you've only been back to work or at work for 6 months, but you were in school 4 years prior, and you might have to explain why you don't have a 2-year work history. Then they'll let you use the transcripts from the school to be able to qualify. So just those 5 things. And then the 6th bonus thing is Just call me if you have any questions.
There you go. I like it.
Just call if you have any questions. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have Phil Wilkerson here. Phil, I'm not going to introduce you because you're going to likely do a better job than I. Can you just tell us, who you are and what you do?
So my name is Phil Wilkerson. I work at Career Services at George Mason University, working particularly with students interested in media, arts, design, sports and rec, and hospitality and tourism. In addition to that, I'm a host of my own podcast, which is called Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on well-being and positivity for everybody, particularly having guests that are my family and friends, sharing wellness and, how they have overcome obstacles in their everyday life. We met additionally through the GMU Black Alumni Chapter. So one of the things I do is I'm the VP for engagement for that. And another hat that I wear a bunch of hats. I'm also the faculty advisor for the NAACP and the Iota Alpha chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha, as well as the chaplain of my chapter, Theta Rho Lambda, as well as what else I was about to say? One more. Keep on going. And the faculty advisor for the photography club.
Jeez, man, you have a lot going on, and
I do. I do.
Husband and a father too.
Oh yeah, that too. Thank you. Yes, and a husband and a father.
Right?
2 boys. Thank you. I was definitely not trying to get in trouble there. Husband to my wife Maggie of 10 years. During this pandemic, we celebrated our 10-year anniversary.
Congrats.
And then a father of 2 boys. One Bennett and Miles, 5 and 2 years old. So just a lot going on.
Got it. Well, you're doing an amazing job. We're watching you and proud of you too as well. You just, as we met through the Black Alumni Chapter, you were awarded 40 under 40, the inaugural. So congrats on that. You're doing amazing work. But so with the career services, you and I were talking, and a part of, again, me bringing folks on is just to introduce, I'll do some slang, but my really dope network to my network, right? And so with you, we were talking about the importance of having mentors,
yes.
Right? And how that affects your career. Can you expand on that and talk more about, what that means and, why you feel it's important?
Yes. And I think that's really you asked me questions about my mortgage on. So I was like, that's not, I would say my expertise, but one of the things I've really thoroughly explored, especially personally, and then giving advice to students in regards to career, is that I always joke with everyone and say, everything that you want to be, while we're unique in our DNA, there's no other Shawn Williams or no other Philip Wilkerson. Everything that you've done before is not completely unique to you. Somewhere out there in the world, someone has done some form or fashion or combination of the things that you want to do. And so that is what I explain as the benefit of a mentor, is almost looking ahead, visionary, seeing an actual tangible person that has done something that you want to replicate for yourself and connecting with that person for advice. And so that's kind of tied in. You can do it in many fashions, right? And I usually say I have a tribe of mentors, right? And so now, knowing that your expertise is in mortgage and home ownership, if I ever wanted to learn more, I could consider you a mentor in that realm. But you find mentors in other realms. And so particularly for me, I found mentors in the space of a father, someone that's been a father before me. I found mentors in the space of higher ed, someone has ascended in their career in this industry of higher ed, and just many different pockets. And so I think that's where I believe mentors is. Mentors is basically just a tangible example, a tangible person that is doing the things that you want to do in life, connecting with that person, and not saying using them in a manipulative way, but using that person to serve as a guidance for you. Maybe the blueprint, Jay-Z, right? The blueprint,
right?
Serving as the blueprint for you and what you want to do in regards to your career.
Right. And so I'm going to stop you there because actually you made a comment about something about not using them or be manipulative, right? Mm-hmm. So did you know, you're a young man, right? So I'm obviously I'm more seasoned than you. I should say I'm older, right? About 10 years old. I'm 44 years old, right? Yeah. And so I think I wish I would have known way back when that 2 people win when you're being mentored.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about that?
Yes. I definitely even talk about I even understand the benefit. Now, one thing you did say specifically is that a mentorship relationship should be reciprocal.
Right.
And also on the flip side, the term mentee or whatever is that you bring value as well to this relationship. There's a few things that the mentor gets from mentoring other people. One, they get validation that they're on the right path. Like, wow, someone looks up to me, right? That can make you feel good. Like, wow, someone holds me in a high esteem. So
Right.
it could be an ego thing, right? Two, it's another tangible opportunity when someone's saying, I really don't know how I can give back. What examples, maybe necessarily the way that you give back doesn't have to be a real community service. It could just be really filling up someone else's bucket and pulling them up. That's a way you're actually giving back. And so that could be a sense of that feeling of altruism, filling up your own bucket as a mentor. And then lastly, like I said, when you mentor someone else that's younger than you, you might get new ideas. You might get help on something that's generationally different. Like, I don't know how to do this and that. And maybe that they can give you that energy or give you that insight. Like, I'll be honest, half the stuff that I know about social media or analytics or behind the scenes of social media, I've actually learned reverse from my students.
Right. Right.
They taught me, they grew up in technology, and so there is a lot of benefits for being a mentor, and there's a lot of value that a mentee can bring to that relationship. I usually always tell whoever's looking for a mentor relationship, always bring that value too. Like, thank you so much, that sense of gratitude. Thank you so much for, giving me that advice, that guidance. Is there anything I can do to help up, right? And you'll be surprised how many times you'll be called on to, be brought into a favor or given ideas and opportunities. Maybe the mentor's like, man, I thought about you the other day. Someone reached out to me. I thought about you. Maybe you can help them. So there definitely is a lot of benefits in that relationship. Like, you're right. You're not using someone for your own gain too. You can bring value as a mentee to the mentor.
Right. Right. And then what do you see, like, in regards to any tips that you might give to any of your students about, like, staying connected too, as well, the importance of staying connected?
Yes. So obviously, one is treat it. I say building a relationship, a mentor-mentee relationship, is the same as any friendship, any normal. You foster, you give it. You water that relationship over time. I shouldn't be one of those things where you just pop up out of nowhere and say, "Can I get a recommendation?" Right? Like, it should be like treat the person that you view as a mentor as a person, right? Like, how you doing, checking in. How would you check in with your normal friendships? I would say that. Now, some people say, "Yo, I'm already terrible at checking in with my friends in the first place." So maybe set up, if you need to be super organized, set up your own system, not like your own system, like weekly check in with someone or see how people are doing on your calendar in your phone. But I would say just keep it reciprocal that same way. Maybe once a semester, if it's within college, I'll reach out to someone and say, just give them updates, like, just want to let you know I'm about to graduate periodically. So whatever structures you need to keep in place, but foster it like you would foster a good friendship, a good relationship, and meet people where they are. Obviously, it shouldn't be inundated. You don't have to check in with someone every day. You don't have to blow up their phone every day. Text messages, whatever, space it out. But it should be how you would view a good relationship, good friendship, in that sense.
Got it. That's awesome. So we're gonna touch on this on the last piece. Your podcast. It's good. You have a really good podcast. I like your content. You're a great speaker. I know we talked about that once before. I think you did Toastmasters, right?
I still do. Oh, I forgot. I added that too. I'm actively in
Yeah.
my George Mason Toastmasters. I'm the VP for public relations. I don't know how many. I think I just do a lot of stuff. People say, "Would you like to do it?" I said, "Is it a lot?" And then they say no, and then I realize it's a lot afterwards.
Yeah. So I don't care what you say, what you guys say. I'm still doing my ums and my
Oh yeah. No, I'm still doing that too. No,
yeah.
like, I would say
is really good for that because it teaches you to be very succinct. And it teaches you to take all the pauses and the oohs and the ums out of your language. But what I did last year, which I've been always very uncomfortable, believe it or not, doing public speaking, especially when I don't have a script or just sort of a gauge or a guide to go off of, I should say. And so I did the Eric Thomas, ET. He's got a Game Changers program, and it allows you to become a certified speaker based on Eric Thomas. And it's largely about like being yourself and being authentic. And, you know, in the setting that you're going to be in, there's, you know, in regards to being a human, you're going to make those types of mistakes. But what it really taught me is to be uncomfortable. I apologize, being comfortable, being uncomfortable. And so shout out to Toastmasters, but I took a different route, and I'm going to keep saying my ums and my uhs until I can get them out of the system.
Yeah, mine is the opposite. We all went through different things, right? Like, I'm not nervous about talking in front of people.
Yeah.
I think one of the things I purposely went to seek Toastmasters is I want to learn how to not shoot from the hip as much.
Yeah.
And be more fine-tuned and read a speech or prepare a real speech. Not that I'm nervous to give the speech, but I want to just sound more succinct, more clear, and more thought out. So during this time, it's allowed me to really write out things.
Yeah.
Like, I started to write what I'm going to say first. So that's why I went. See, I just said myself. Maybe the uhs and ahs are not getting better in regards to Toastmasters, but knowing who my audience is and knowing, okay, I have to deliver on these talking points, being more prepared has helped me also prepare for staff meetings and professional engagements where I had to be more scripted. And so that's where Toastmasters has benefited me.
Yeah. And a lot of people, and we're talking about careers as well, but a lot of folks, as you start to climb in your career, many people don't understand the importance of communication.
Yes.
That is so important to be able to take an idea and have everybody understand what that idea is, or product or service or whatever it might be. And communication is so important, and to be able to articulate it clearly so that everybody gets on board is super important. So tell me or tell us about your podcast. Like, so how'd you get started, and why do you do it?
So a while ago, kind of speaking into existence, I was at a job previously to this job, and I was just trying to get myself motivated. And so one of the ways I was trying to get myself motivated was I would talk to myself a little bit. And what I wanted to do is I started filming them and posting them on YouTube to call them random ramblings. And I realized over time those were boring. I was just talking to myself, but I like talking. And so I asked a friend, well, I'm not necessarily a videographer. I'm not doing anything crazy on YouTube, but I heard about these things called podcasts where it's more of an audio-based thing, like a radio show. And so I had a friend, he told me about it. And as I said, another opportunity where I found a mentor. Shout out to Dean Bakari. He's got the Meaningful Show. I reached out to him because my friend connected him, and he spent an hour talking to me on the phone.
Oh, that's awesome.
Just because of that connection. And he sent me an email, this templated email that I have that I send out to everyone, where it was like, this is how you start a podcast. This is how you do a hosting site. He spent time with me doing that. And I realized that's the lane I wanted to go in, was rather this, random ramblings on YouTube. I wanted to just have a radio show, basically. And then I also realized that me having this radio show and me talking by myself was boring. So I did the same thing. You got a dope network. I have a dope network. I was like, let me just tap into that and let my friends share their stories and set up interview style interviews on my podcast. Right. And so that has been sustainable. I think it's been better for me. I've had my mentors on there. It's another way for me to give back to my mentor and say, I really appreciate the ways you helped me. Maybe you can share it with an audience. It's also been an opportunity for me to bring on my mentees, people, to give them an opportunity to share their thoughts with the world. I think it's basically, for me, a podcast is just a audio business card. I don't make any money off the podcast. It's not monetized. It's just an opportunity for me to share my voice, share other people's voices, and legit connect with people. Just another way.
So how can we're gonna put it in the comments? But what's the name of your podcast again? I know it, but tell us.
Positive Philter. Positive is spelled positive, and then filter is spelled with a PH because I'm very smart. Now I'm just playing. So PHILTR. And weird part too is I got my name Positive Philter from my network because, as I said, I'm very outgoing. I said, hey guys, I'm starting a podcast. If I was to name it something, what would it be? And one of my friends put it in the comments, and I was like, I love that. and I use that ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Positive, and then Philter,
Filter.
PHILTER. Yep.
That's it.
And then where can we find you? Is it like Spotify and
Everything. It's on everything. Apple, Google.
iTunes?
Yeah, if you type in Positive Philter, something will come up because it's across. It's been, and not to say I'm popular, but when you do it over time, when you put it in Google, it's one of the first thing that comes up because one of the other things was it was a unique name. No, there was no other Positive Philter. It was funny. There was a Positive Phil podcast. So if you just type in Positive Phil podcast, there's that, but there's no filter one. So that is unique to that. So if you Google that, you'll get all the different ways you can listen, which is on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, all those different ones.
He's like, I don't need a business card. Just Google me.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say that this show, anything like you're building your digital footprint,
that's right.
That like you're right. Over time, paper podcasts, I mean, paper business cards are necessary, not obsolete, but they're not as getting people as a digital footprint. And so, when you say Google me or whatever, LinkedIn me, I think a lot of people are connecting instead of hitting them up with business cards. They say, yo, please add me on LinkedIn. And they do. And that could be a way to stay connected with people.
Right.
That's how we stayed in touch. I think I believe I followed up with you first on LinkedIn saying, thank you so much for inviting me to the 40 under 40. And then we started dialogue from there.
That's right. And we were talking about public speaking and such and everything. And then just over time we had connected, and, I've been listening to your podcast, and, we just decided to have you on here. And I really appreciate it because you're doing some great things out there. It's just, it's awesome. And I really appreciate that. So Phil, like before we go, like any, parting words that you might have, I'm going to ask you I don't know if it's a tough question or not, but I'm going to ask you if you listen to any of these towards the end. I have a really cool question that I've been asking everyone. It's instead of the icebreaker, it's the ice ender.
Yeah. Well, you like it.
Ice preserver.
We love ice. The Ice Cold Brothers at Alpha Phi Alpha love the ice term. So well done. Well done.
Anything on careers like that you like to leave us with?
So this is my go-to. So I'm glad you said that. Whenever someone asks me, what can I do will you help me with my life, or what I'm going to do for the rest of my life? I usually tell them no. And they're like, what? They get thrown off, because to me, careers is not a matter of what you're going to do for the rest of your life. It's a matter of what you're going to do next, taking next steps. And you're going to make pivots and transitions. And I think over time, what I do teach is like how to go confidently through those next, like how to feel comfortable, networking with people, because that's how you get information. How do you feel comfortable tighten up your resume and cover letter on your own? How do you feel comfortable talking about your skills to someone? So in regards to careers, you don't need to have it figured out for the rest of your life. Ideally, in our times, no one's staying in the same place for 40 years and retiring. A lot of people are doing pivoting and changing and trying new ideas. So in regards to that, find comfort that it's okay to not know everything, the whole path, but learn how to be comfortable in transitions. Learn how to be comfortable in making those next steps, and learning how to connect with others, tying back into that mentorship, tying in, find comfort in connecting with others while you make those next steps, so that you feel comfortable, that you're feeling confident in those decisions, and you're making well-informed decisions. So life is about a matter of next, not a matter of what you got to do forever. It's just making pivots and changes.
Thanks for that. And how can people find you? Like, how do we connect with you besides Google?
The podcast or Positive Philter, at Positive Philter on all the social media platforms. Mm-hmm. It's also branded that as its own channel. I would say mainly, particularly for this audience, I'm very comfortable being added on LinkedIn, and adding me on LinkedIn is definitely a go-to. As I said, it's like my business card, where I love to engage and connect with people on that platform and message them back and forth. So that definitely would be my go-to way to connect with people.
Okay. So we're going to end with this: dead or alive.
Yes.
Yeah. You ready?
Yeah. I did listen to this, and I did prepare. And one, recently on my podcast earlier this week,
Yeah.
I do a segment called Shot for Shot,
Yeah.
where they get to ask me any random question. And just this is literally no joke. On the podcast that I released on Monday, the guest asked me this question, so I have it ready in my head. Just
Okay.
by coincidence. By coincidence. By coincidence.
So dead or alive, one person, one question. You can give us some color around why you would have this person, but who would the person be, and what question would you ask?
Oh, okay, that wasn't. You're right. Never mind. That wasn't the same question. Mine was. They asked me dead or alive who was my favorite rappers, but
no. So like you know,
I got it.
You have a meeting like coffee, lunch, dinner, whatever it is. Who would it be?
No, this is really so dead or alive. I got two people, and
only get one.
Come on, man. It's gonna be my grandfather, but on both sides.
Right.
I want to
hear it then. Go ahead.
And the reason why, and I'll explain why too, and those two. So my grandfather on my father's side, or my father's father, he unfortunately passed away when my dad was only 11, and so I never got a chance to meet him. And so for that, I would love to just just talk to him, like meet him. Like I never got to meet him. He was an awesome man. Supposedly, I was like, where did I get this extroversion from? Everyone says I get it from him. Like that, it skipped my father and went to me. His extroversion, because my dad is an introvert. But supposedly, my grandfather, his father was just a man around town. Everyone loved him. Was very outgoing, very charismatic, and I would just love to talk to him and just really know who he was. And then on my grandfather, who I did know quite significantly, I just love to bring him back because he was just a man, just another charismatic person. He was one of the one of the earliest Black doctors in Charlotte, North Carolina. Just really impactful in the community. I remember going to his funeral. The whole town showed out for him. Dr. Charles James. And so, so my father's father is Philip Linwood Wilkerson the first. I'm Philip Linwood Wilkerson the third. So I never got a chance to meet the first, which is great.
And then what would you ask the first? If you could ask one question to the first, what would you ask?
I'd probably ask him too, like, we got this limited time together. Like, what was your main value? How did you carry yourself? What was one advice that you need to give me, or one thing that you really wanted to tell me as your grandson, that to help me live my life better? That's what I would ask him.
And how about the doctor, the second, your other grandfather on your mother's side, right?
I would ask him more of that career thing. Because I would say, like, knowing that you were going into this field quite marginalized, how did you stay motivated? Like, how did you as probably the only in many rooms or barriers, how did you still succeed, and how did you still say, like, no matter what, I was going to be a doctor? And asking maybe honestly, like, did you even want to grow up to be a doctor, or this happened? Like, was this by chance? I never asked him that kind of stuff. I knew him at the end of his career, like as a doctor. I would love to ask him more questions about his early start and his behind the scenes. What, of all things to choose, why did you choose medicine? So those would be the two things.
Right.
I'm sorry I complicated your issue, but it was like those were.
No, you didn't.
It was two people that I definitely wanted to always think about. I consciously think about it in regards to legacy and making an impact and who I am. I always think, like, dang, like my grandfather paved the way. I can't slack because he was the man.
Yeah. No, Phil. This part is my favorite part of these conversations, because it brings so much perspective, and everyone actually, except for Oprah, a couple people said they'd like to meet Oprah, right? Everyone's had a different answer, and different comments, and so I really enjoy this. Much like my mortgage career, every time I get an opportunity to speak with a new client, they potentially and typically become a new friend, and adds to more and more of the perspective that I have in life. And so a big reason why we're doing this live stream anyway. So no, that was awesome. That was amazing. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. So what I'll do is, Phil, I ask you to hang on after I shut down the live stream, and we'll wish each other goodbye, whatever you want to call it. But everyone, please reach out to me if I can do anything to help. I hope this information is continuing to add value to everyone. We're still in some troubling, trying times. Do your very best. Do your very best to get through it. Again, if there's anything that we can do to help, don't hesitate to reach out. Stay safe. Please, please, please stay as safe as you possibly can. And, everyone have a great day. And we'll see you next Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.